In the summer of 1975, a movie was released that would forever change how people viewed the ocean. Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, terrified audiences with its tale of a massive great white shark stalking a small New England island town. Facts Verse presents the huge blooper that everyone missed in Jaws. It's obvious now. Behind Jaws' iconic opening. The opening scene of Jaws took 3 days to shoot and is iconic. To achieve the jolting, frantic motions of the unseen shark attacking the swimmer, a harness with cables was attached to actress Susan Backlini's legs. Crew members would yank the cables back and forth erratically along the shoreline. Spielberg instructed them not to let Backlini know she would get yanked, so her terrified flailing and screams of panic were completely genuine reactions captured on film. Spielberg loved the result so much he ended up spoofing his own opening attack in his 1979 comedy 1941. The scene features Backlini once again skinny dipping at night, but instead of a shark, she gets scooped up by a passing Japanese submarine. The nature of bringing Bruce to life. The main shark antagonist, famously nicknamed Bruce after Spielberg's lawyer, caused a nightmare of problems due to its immense size and over-ambitious mechanics. Designed by production designer Joe Alves, Bruce weighed 1.2 tons and stretched 25 feet long. The shark was constructed from a pneumatic system that frequently leaked due to saltwater corrosion of the hoses and motors. This resulted in the animatronic beast often weighing much more from taking on water through absorption into its neoprene foam exterior. Thanks to Bruce's unreliability, Spielberg was forced to creatively show very little of the shark for most of the film's runtime. The famous first full shot isn't until an hour and 21 minutes in. Necessity led to the masterful suspense of just implying the shark's presence through props like yellow barrels. To supplement what little could be shot of the faulty Bruce animatronic, Spielberg also employed real footage of great white sharks shot in Australia by underwater cinematographers Ron and Valerie Taylor. To make their real 14-foot sharks appear as massive as the 25-foot beast in the script, they utilized clever camera tricks. This included using an abnormally small shark cage set and hiring a 4'11" actor to stand in as Hooper. Martha's Vineyard mishaps. Shooting on location in the quaint Massachusetts island of Martha's Vineyard and Menemsha brought all sorts of headaches for Spielberg's crew. Strict land ordinances prohibited them from building any significant sets and forced the deconstruction of smaller ones rapidly. The Amity Island billboard shown being painted over had to be built and wrapped in just a single day to comply with local rules. Only Quint's shack ended up being a constructed set that lasted. The real villain was filming at sea in the unpredictable Atlantic. Saltwater was constantly sabotaging the cameras and drenching equipment with corrosive splashes of brine. Winds would randomly carry rogue civilian watercraft drifting into shots. There were also countless cases of the cast and crew being tormented by seasickness from the swells, blazing sunburns, and stubborn mechanical issues with the larger boat props like the Orca vessel. Spielberg himself has said his youthful hubris led him to vastly underestimate how grueling an at-sea production would truly be. Trial by fire casting. With just over a week until cameras were set to roll, Jaws was still lacking two of its leading men. Producers struggled to find actors willing to take on the role of salty seaman Quint. Everyone from Lee Marvin to Sterling Hayden turned it down before Robert Shaw was suggested and convinced by his wife to accept. Shaw admitted he hated the source novel, but still committed to internalizing Quint by modeling the character's voice, demeanor, and mannerisms after a real Massachusetts fisherman named Craig Kingsbury, who also had a small role in the film. As for Matt Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss only joined after being recommended by his pal George Lucas, director of American Graffiti. Dreyfuss was so certain Jaws would flop that he infamously dismissed the movie to people before its release. On top of the last-minute casting, the infamous shooting delays caused by the titular shark wore on everyone. Shaw routinely binge-drank on set and had a contentious relationship with Dreyfuss, though their authentic rivalry helped fuel their antagonistic banter. Production goofs and happy accidents. Even in the takes that made the final cut of Jaws, there are plenty of noticeable goofs. In some shots, the lettering on the orca's stern seems brand new, while in others it appears aged and rusted. The water being towed behind the boat at different speeds also doesn't line up with how quickly or slowly the shark itself is shown swimming when Ranger Hooper gets trapped in the iconic cage attack. There are similar continuity blunders, like Harry Meadows seemingly disappearing between cuts during the town hall scene before his chalkboard demonstration. Other mistakes include factual inaccuracies and bloopers. Water survival and physics get tossed out the window with the floating compressed air tank beside the stranded Brody. Quint also flubs details like inaccurately pinning the date the USS Indianapolis went down. But some of Jaws' most iconic moments were completely happy accidents that got filmed by chance. One was Brody's son imitating his exaggerated gestures at the dinner table, a spontaneous bit that Spielberg loved and restaged for the film. Scheider's famous "you're gonna need a bigger boat" quip was totally off-the-cuff riffing by the actor. Even Quint's chilling speech about the Indianapolis disaster was mostly improvised by Shaw, using his theater background to expand on the scene. Spielberg capitalized on unplanned moments, like happily stumbling across the corpse of Ben Gardner, partially submerged in the water, which led to the director reshooting that iconic jolt scare in editor Verna Fields' swimming pool, mere feet away from the cast and crew. Cutting room regrets and reshoots. With all the issues mounting, some of Jaws' content inevitably ended up restructured or on the cutting room floor. After failing to secure the rights to use footage from Moby Dick to visually establish Quint's seafaring backstory, an entire introduction scene for his character had to be axed. Spielberg also ditched a whole extramarital affair subplot between Ellen Brody and Matt Hooper that carried over from the novel's source material. The director realized those character arcs made them too unlikable to root for as the protagonists. Simple changes like erroneously listing dates of deaths in the report Brody types up made it to the final cut. So did some more glaring blunders, like Hooper clearly stating shark species that could not be responsible for the first victim's wounds. Mixed reaction and legacy. In the end, all the turmoil and troubles paid off tremendously. Jaws became the first true Hollywood summer blockbuster event. It smashed box office records as the highest-grossing film of all time until Star Wars 2 years later. While revolutionary for cinema, Jaws' portrayal of sharks as little more than fear-mongering monsters did lead to regrets from those involved. Spielberg has stated his misgivings about possibly contributing to the decline of shark populations by sparking media frenzies and recreational huntings of the sea creatures, though the impact is still debated. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite scene from Jaws? Let us know in the comments section below.